Well, good morning, Scott over at ReadySquirrel.com. Today I'm going to talk about sieving your wheat to remove the bran and germ from the endosperm. This is home milled, home ground wheat. You're doing it in some kind of a blender, some kind of a hand crank grinder, some kind of electric mill. So this isn't a difficult process, milling or rather sieving wheat, but I think that really the issue is why you do it, and the reason you do it is to make a more tender crust for things like pastries. So this is pretty simple. This flour still has the bran and germ in it, and what we're doing here is separating the endosperm, which is the fluffy part that you want to use in like tender pastry type dishes, or baked goods, I guess you want to say. Pretty simple. Twist the handle on this unit. There's different kind of units you can get. You could actually just use like one of those screen kitchen implements that you use to screen stuff in the kitchen. But what we're getting here in this end product is something that's, you know, it's just much finer, much more powdery. And you can get more into this than what I'm doing. And that's what you end up with. For our purposes, let's just talk about what we're most likely to store in long-term storage based on expense, because the typical hard white and hard red wheats are going to be less expensive to store in bulk. So that's more than likely what we're going to use. I want to talk a little bit about the wheat itself, just to kind of give you like a mental picture of how to think about the wheat that you have and what kinds of wheat you may and may not want to store. For like ease of discussion, and because I'm not a scholar of wheat, there's two main types of wheat. There's hard wheat and there's soft wheat. And if you're prepping, if you're purchasing wheat online, or you're buying it from a local mill, more than likely you're going to be buying hard white wheat or hard red wheat. And there's other aspects to this. There's spring wheat, there's winter wheat, there's ancient grains, there's different strains, different hybrids, wild wheats. Hard white wheat is mild, and it's considered an all-purpose flour. So you can use hard white wheat to make unleavened products like the pie crusts and the scones and the unleavened bread. You cannot really use soft wheat to make things like leavened bread and things that you need fluffiness and that you need growth from when the yeast is eating the gluten in the bread or transforming it. I'm oversimplifying this. I mean, there's like all kinds of science behind bread, and there's multiple ways that the gluten is used, and sugars are changed and starches are changed. I'm not going to get into that. So so what does that mean? We have two kinds of wheat. We have hard, we have soft, we have white, we have red, and for these purposes. So what does that mean for us? Well, if you are expecting to make pancakes from hard white wheat that you have in your pantry and get the same tender results from the end product, you're not going to. So you have two options. You can store some soft wheat and you can mix it like they do with all-purpose flour. All-purpose flour is half hard, half soft wheat. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to stick to the fairly inexpensive hard white wheat that's considered all-purpose, unblended, you can sift it. And that's why I'm sifting this flour, because it's going to reduce some of the chewiness and some of the nastiness, and it's going to bump up the gluten. Because from what I've read, the bran and the germ that are in the wheat berry can kind of unsettle and make the rise of the bread harder, and I don't really understand the science behind that. But you can, so to back up, you want to sieve your flour or separate it. You're basically separating the powder portion from the harder, bigger portions, the bran and the whey, the bran and the germ. The only downside to that is it does reduce nutritional value. So that's a judgment call. That's something you're going to have to decide. And and the other option is you can take the bran and the germ and you can use it for something else. You can use it to make I never say it right. It's leaven or levain, which is kind of like a home-brewed yeast. It's a natural yeast. It's you can take the germ and the bran, and you can add water, and you can basically make your own sourdough yeast that way. So if you're ever in an emergency situation, you don't have to have powdered or liquid yeast. You can make your own yeast just from the yeast that's in the air. So the bran and the germ, you don't want to waste it. You can compost it. You can add it to breakfast muffins to get more fiber in your diet. And so you can basically you can not waste that product, but you can shift it. I will put a link down below to a video of me showing you how to make levain. All right, guys, that's all there is for today. This is Scott with Ready Squirrel. Keep on prepping, and I'll see you next time.